The station was already dying before I woke up. I knew that before I even opened my eyes. The silence told me. Not normal silence. Not the quiet hum of machines or the soft vibration of engines buried behind steel walls. This silence felt broken. Dead. Then came her voice. You humans are stubborn. I slowly opened my eyes. Red emergency lights flashed across the module in uneven pulses. Every few seconds the room glowed blood red, then dark again. Loose wires drifted through the air. Small tools floated near the ceiling. Drops of water hovered like tiny glass beads. And in the far corner of the compartment, she watched me. The alien hung onto the wall with four-clawed limbs, perfectly steady despite the station spinning slowly around us. One side of her face was burned black, and dark fluid drifted from a cut near her shoulder. Still, she smiled. You should have died already, she said quietly. I tried to move, but pain exploded through my head. Something warm ran down the side of my neck. Blood. At least I hoped it was blood. Everything looked red under the emergency lights. I grabbed a pipe near the wall and steadied myself. That was when I noticed the smoke. Not grey smoke. Black smoke. Thick. Moving strangely through the air like living ink. It twisted through the next module in long curling waves. Then I saw the fire inside it. My stomach tightened. In zero gravity, fire didn't rise. It spread in every direction at once. The flames rolled through the compartment like some living creature searching for oxygen. The alien noticed me staring. It will reach us soon, she said calmly. I pushed myself toward the hatch between the compartments. The metal door was half bent inward. Something huge must have hit the station. I grabbed the locking wheel and twisted hard. Nothing. The locking rods inside the frame were warped. Only two moved. The rest stayed jammed. Behind the hatch, the fire grew brighter. Heat began leaking through the gaps. You cannot stop it, the alien said. I ignored her and shoved my shoulder against the door. Still nothing. The station groaned around us. Somewhere far away, metal screamed. I looked around the compartment quickly. Medical kits. Broken tablets. Loose cables. One emergency oxygen tank. And a tiny fire extinguisher barely bigger than my arm. Useless. You are going to die, the alien repeated. There was no fear in her voice. Only certainty. I grabbed the oxygen tank and pulled it free from the wall. The alien tilted her head. What exactly are you planning to do with that? I stared at the fire. Then at the pressure valve on the tank. An idea formed. A terrible idea. If the fire wants oxygen, I muttered, I'll give it oxygen. For the first time, the alien looked confused. That would make it worse. Hopefully. I ripped the hatch open. Heat slammed into me instantly. It felt like opening an oven directly into my face. The flames twisted violently inside the next module. Without thinking twice, I held the oxygen tank directly into the burning compartment and pulled the hatch shut again. The alien stared at me. You are insane. Maybe. But I knew something about those tanks. If the heat got high enough, the emergency release valve would fail. And if that happened, the oxygen would blast out like a rocket. I grabbed the hatch again and forced it against the frame. Hot air screamed through the cracks. The metal burned my hands. Seconds passed. Then, wham! Something smashed against the other side of the hatch. The whole station shook violently. The oxygen tank had started flying around inside the compartment. The alien grabbed onto the wall instantly. I nearly lost my grip. Again. Wham! The hatch bent inward. Then came the sound I was waiting for. A sharp metallic tear. The compartment beyond us suddenly depressurized. Air exploded outward into space. The hatch was ripped against its seal so hard it nearly tore from my hands. Then, silence. Not complete silence. But the fire was gone. I stared through the small circular window. The entire module beyond us had been ripped open to space. Metal walls peeled outward like a crushed can. Burning debris vanished into darkness. The fire had died instantly. No oxygen. No flame. The alien slowly turned toward me. For the first time since I met her. She didn't look amused anymore. She looked uncertain. The station continued spinning slowly. Broken pieces drifted outside the window, some still glowing red from the explosion. I finally let go of the hatch. My hands were shaking. The skin on my palms was burned raw. But we were alive. For now. Then the alien spoke again. You humans survive in the strangest ways. I slid down against the wall, breathing heavily. We've had practice, I whispered. And somewhere deep inside the dying station, something else exploded. The explosion echoed through the station like distant thunder. The whole module jerked sideways. Loose equipment slammed into the walls. For a second, I thought the structure had finally broken apart. But somehow, it held. Barely. The alien crawled across the curved wall with unnatural balance, while I struggled just to stay upright in zero gravity. You are lucky, she muttered. No, I said between breaths. Lucky would have been not getting attacked in the first place. She ignored that. Outside the small window, pieces of the station drifted away endlessly. Entire sections were gone. Solar arrays spun slowly through space like broken wings. One of the habitation rings had snapped completely in half. And the central spine of the station, twisted metal, bent nearly double. I stared at the destruction in silence. Months of work. Years of construction. Hundreds of people. Gone in minutes. You did this? I finally asked. The alien's eyes narrowed slightly. Our species did. Why? She tapped one claw against the hull. Because this region belongs to us. I laughed weakly. Space belongs to everyone. No, she said coldly. Space belongs to whoever can survive it. The emergency lights flickered again. For a moment, the module went completely dark. Then dim red light returned. I looked down at Earth below us. Huge. Beautiful. Peaceful. From up here, you couldn't see war. Or borders. Or suffering. Just clouds drifting over blue oceans. The alien floated beside me near the window. You creatures cling to dirt, she said quietly. You build tiny shelters and pretend you own the stars. I kept staring at Earth. And yet we made it up here anyway. That seemed to annoy her. She turned away without answering. The module continued spinning slowly through space. That was when I noticed something else. The stars were shifting oddly outside the window. Not because we were moving. Because we were falling. My stomach tightened. We lost orbit. The alien looked at me. Yes. How long? She shrugged. Hours, perhaps. Maybe less. I pushed myself away from the wall and looked around the tiny service module carefully for the first time. It was never designed to survive on its own. No engines. No navigation. No heat shielding. Barely enough life support for maintenance work. Just tools, storage cabinets, and diagnostic equipment strapped to the walls. Basically a floating broom closet. And now it was my escape pod. Fantastic. I grabbed one of the wall handles as another vibration ran through the structure. The module was heating up slowly. Not enough to panic yet, but enough to notice. The alien watched me carefully. You are finally afraid. I was afraid the whole time. You hid it well. No, I said. I was busy. That actually made her pause. I floated toward a damaged panel near the communications rack. Most of the screens were dead. One still flickered weakly. Static. No signal. I reached for my earpiece instinctively. Melted plastic scraped against my skin. Pain shot through the side of my head. I touched my ear carefully and froze. Part of it was gone. Burned away. The alien noticed my expression. You looked terrible before, she said. This changes very little. I stared at her. You know, for an advanced alien species, your people are kind of assholes. She blinked slowly. I do not know this word. Trust me. You qualify. For the first time, something close to amusement crossed her face. Then another violent shake rolled through the module. This one stronger. The walls groaned loudly. Tiny flakes of frost drifted from the ceiling vents. I looked upward immediately. No airflow. That was bad. Very bad. The station's life support systems were gone, which meant the carbon dioxide scrubbers were gone too. The oxygen around us might last a while, but the CO2 buildup would kill us first. Slowly, painfully, the alien pointed toward the emergency cabinet. You still have air. I grabbed the emergency oxygen cylinder beside the wall. Full. Good. But oxygen wasn't the real problem. I searched the compartment quickly until I spotted the CO2 monitor floating near the ceiling. Its alarm was chirping softly. I pulled it closer. The reading made my stomach drop. Dangerously high already. The alien leaned closer to look at the display. "Oh," she said calmly. "You are dying faster than I expected." Helpful. You humans are fragile. You keep mentioning that. Because it fascinates me. I shoved the oxygen mask over my face and opened the valve slightly. Cold air rushed into my lungs. My headache eased almost immediately. But the relief didn't last long. Another vibration shook the module. Stronger now. More constant. Not impacts. Friction. The alien placed one claw carefully against the wall. We are entering atmosphere. I closed my eyes briefly. No heat shielding. No stabilization. No parachutes. We were basically a metal coffin falling toward Earth. The alien drifted silently beside me. "So," she asked softly, "what is your next plan, human?" I looked around the tiny module. Broken electronics. Scattered tools. Damaged wiring. A cracked emergency beacon attached near the storage rack. Maybe. Just maybe. I push myself toward it. We call for help. The alien laughed quietly. "You still believe someone will save you?" "I have to. Even now." I grabbed the beacon and tore it from the wall. The plastic casing was cracked open. Inside, the circuit board had snapped nearly in half. Damn it. The alien folded her arms. "Dead?" "No," I whispered. I examined the board carefully. Most of the damage was concentrated across the broken traces. Simple pathways. Simple connections. Fixable. Maybe. If I had tools. Then I remembered. Most of my equipment had been inside the compartment I vented into space. Of course it had. The alien noticed the realization on my face. A slow smile spread across hers. "You destroyed your own tools to survive." I stared at the broken beacon in my hands. Then at the damaged equipment panel nearby. An idea slowly formed. Dangerous. Improvised. Probably stupid. Which meant it was the only option left. I looked up at her. "Do you happen to have any solder?" The alien stared at me for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached into a storage pouch attached to her side and pulled out a small coil of solder wire. "You creatures repair things in the middle of death," she said. I held out my hand. She floated the solder toward me. "But your tools are gone." "I know." The emergency beacon drifted beside me while I looked around the module. I needed heat. A power source. Something precise enough to reconnect the broken circuits. Instead, all I had was junk. Broken panels. Loose wiring. Dead equipment. And one smashed laptop strapped to the maintenance console. The alien crossed her arms. "You are wasting time." "Probably." I pushed myself toward the damaged panel and ripped off the cover. A shower of tiny screws floated into the air. Inside, a few indicator lights still glowed faintly. Power. Good enough. I reached deeper into the compartment and tore out 2 wires carefully. The insulation scraped against my burned hands. Pain shot through my fingers. I ignored it. The alien watched curiously now. Not mocking anymore. Studying me. I searched the compartment again. Then I saw it. A pencil floating near the ceiling. I grabbed it instantly. The alien tilted her head. "You intend to write your final words." I bit down on the pencil and snapped it apart with my teeth. Wood splintered in my mouth. I pulled out the graphite core and held it up. Understanding flashed across her face. "Oh." I wrapped the exposed wires around each end of the graphite carefully. Improvised heating element. Crude. Dangerous. But it might work. I needed something to hold it together. My eyes landed on a strip of duct tape attached to the wall beside a clipboard. Perfect. I tore off a piece and secured the wires tightly around the graphite. The alien drifted closer now. You are making a soldering tool. Trying to. With garbage. We are very advanced monkeys. That earned another strange look from her. I connected the loose wires carefully to the damaged panel's power supply. The moment the circuit closed, the graphite began glowing faint orange. Heat spread instantly through the tiny rod. The duct tape started smoking. I smiled despite myself. The alien looked genuinely surprised. You built a tool from trash. Welcome to engineering. The module shook violently again. Harder this time. A deep groan rolled through the hull around us. The temperature was rising fast now. Re-entry was getting worse. No time. I grabbed the broken emergency beacon and examined the cracked circuit board. 8 broken traces. Maybe 9. Some were close enough together that one mistake would short the whole thing. I anchored myself against the wall with one foot and carefully scraped the protective coating away from the broken copper lines using a jagged piece of metal. Tiny copper pathways appeared underneath. The alien watched silently. I could feel her eyes following every movement. You really believe this will save you? No, I admitted. Then why continue? I paused for half a second. Because stopping felt worse. Because doing nothing meant accepting death. Because humans were stubborn enough to fight even when losing. But I didn't say any of that. I just kept working. I touched the glowing graphite tip against the solder wire. The metal melted instantly. Good. Very good. Slowly, carefully, I bridged the first broken connection. Then the second. The module vibrated constantly now. A low shaking that never stopped. The walls creaked around us like an old ship during a storm. Sweat drifted from my forehead in floating droplets. The heat inside the compartment kept climbing. One bad movement and the entire board would fry. The alien leaned closer. You are shaking. I noticed. Fear. Exhaustion. Probably both. I repaired another trace. Then another. My hands slipped suddenly. The hot graphite slammed into my thumb. I hissed in pain. Burned skin peeled instantly. The alien flinched slightly at the smell. You injure yourselves so easily. Not helping. I kept going. One connection at a time. Tiny repairs. Tiny chances. The emergency beacon floated in front of me like the last fragile hope left in the universe. Then suddenly, the alien reached out. One sharp claw brushed the board accidentally. 3 fresh solder points snapped apart instantly. I stared at the damage in horror. No, no, no. The alien pulled back immediately. I did not. Stop touching things. For the first time since waking up, I heard actual guilt in her voice. I was attempting to stabilize myself. Well, stabilize yourself somewhere else. I took a long breath through the oxygen mask and forced my hands steady again. The module shook harder. Warning alarms somewhere deep inside the wreckage echoed faintly through the structure. We were dropping faster now. Much faster. I repaired the broken traces again. One by one. Finally. The last connection. I leaned back against the wall, breathing heavily. The improvised soldering tool smoked in my hand. Almost finished. Now the power source. I grabbed the shattered laptop and forced my fingers into the cracked casing. Blood drifted from my knuckles as sharp plastic cut into my skin. The battery inside was glued down hard. I yanked harder. The battery tore free suddenly. The alien watched me closely. You are leaking everywhere. Humans do that. I stripped the remaining wire ends quickly and connected them to the beacon terminals. Red to red. Black to black. The alien suddenly pointed. No. Reverse them. I froze. Seriously? Yes. I narrowed my eyes. You trying to kill me? She looked offended. You are already dying. Fair point. Still, I ignored her and connected the wires normally. For one horrible second. Nothing happened. Then, a tiny green LED flickered weakly. A soft chirp echoed through the module. The beacon was alive. I stared at it in disbelief, then laughed. Not because things were okay. They absolutely were not. But because somehow, against every logical possibility, it worked. The alien stared at the blinking light, then slowly looked back at me. You repaired it. Told you. That does not mean rescue will arrive. No, I admitted quietly. But now they know where I am. Outside the window, Earth filled more of the sky. The module trembled harder with every passing minute. And somewhere beyond the atmosphere below us, gravity kept pulling. The shaking became constant after that. Not violent. Not yet. But enough that every loose object inside the module rattled against the walls. We were deep enough in the atmosphere now for drag to start tearing at us. And our little service module was never meant for this. I held the oxygen mask tighter against my face and stared out the window. Earth no longer looked distant. It looked close. Too close. Clouds rolled beneath us like massive white oceans. The alien floated beside the wall, unusually quiet now. No insults. No mocking. Just watching. The emergency beacon chirped softly every few seconds. Somewhere out there, someone might hear it. Might. That word was doing a lot of work. You understand rescue is unlikely, the alien finally said. Yep. You are still calm. I'm not calm. Then why are you not panicking? I thought about that. The truth was, I didn't know. Maybe there was no energy left for panic. Maybe humans simply got used to disaster after a while. Or maybe once death stopped feeling far away, your brain accepted it quietly. Another hard vibration rolled through the hull. This one louder. Metal screamed somewhere behind us. I looked up immediately. One of the wall panels had begun glowing faint orange. Heat. Real heat now. The alien noticed it too. The outer hull is failing. Yeah, I got that part. The module suddenly lurched sideways. My shoulder slammed hard into the wall. Outside the window, flames began streaking past us. Thin orange lines at first. Then brighter. Longer. We were entering full re-entry. The alien gripped the wall tightly with her claws. You are smiling. I touched my face unconsciously. She was right. I actually was. That seems insane, she said carefully. I stared at the fire outside. No, I whispered. It just feels real. The entire sky burned around us now. Flames wrapped around the module in glowing waves. The metal hull groaned constantly. The air smelled hot. Electrical. Like burning wires and melting plastic. The alien watched me strangely. You truly wish to explore this place? I looked at her. What? Space, she said. You speak of it as though it matters. I laughed weakly. It matters more than anything. She didn't understand. I could see that. To her species, space was normal. Natural. Like an ocean fish asking why humans dream about water. You risked your life to come here, she continued. Spent my whole life trying. And for what? To repair machinery. That one hit harder than I expected. I looked away from her. When I was a kid, I said quietly, I used to stay awake at night staring at the stars. The module shook violently again. I kept talking anyway. I thought if I work hard enough, maybe one day I'd see them properly. The flames outside brightened. Orange light filled the cabin. I wanted to walk on Mars. Another vibration. Stronger now. I wanted to stand on Europa. The hull screamed loudly. I wanted to see Saturn from orbit. I closed my eyes briefly, and maybe find something out there that proved we weren't alone. The alien stared at me in silence, then finally asked, "And now?" I looked around the tiny burning module, at the broken wires, the blood floating in the air, the dying lights. Now I had my answer. I still do. The alien moved closer to the window and looked out at Earth below. For the first time. Her voice sounded softer. Our species stopped wandering long ago. I glanced at her. What happened? We survived. I frowned. That's supposed to be a bad thing. You humans chase meaning because you fear death, she said quietly. We abandoned meaning after we conquered it. The module suddenly dropped hard. Both of us slammed against the walls. A deafening crack echoed through the hull. I looked up instantly. A thin fracture spread across the ceiling panel. Not good. Not good at all. The alien looked at the crack. Then at me. You are afraid again. Yep. Good. Before I could answer, the emergency beacon suddenly chirped louder. A different tone. I froze. So did she. Then, a voice burst through the tiny damaged speaker. Repeat. Unidentified beacon signal detected. My heart stopped. Human. A human voice. Static swallowed most of it. Source unstable, descending trajectory confirmed. I lunged toward the beacon. Hello. Hello, this is maintenance technician Daniel Harper aboard Orbital Station Perseus. Static crackled violently. Then, signal received. The alien watched me carefully now. Recovery impossible. My stomach dropped. No. Trajectory too steep. The module shook harder. The voice continued through heavy bursts of static. Survival probability near zero. I gripped the beacon tighter. There has to be something. Silence. Then finally, we are sorry. The transmission died. Just like that. Gone. The only sound left was the violent roar outside the hull. I stared at the dead beacon. My hands slowly shaking. The alien drifted silently nearby. She didn't smile. Didn't mock me. Didn't say I told you so. For once. She understood. The hull temperature warning alarm suddenly screamed to life. A deep red light flooded the module. The ceiling crack spread wider. Molten metal dripped slowly from one corner. The alien looked toward the growing fracture. Then back at me. This is the end, human. I closed my eyes. The module continued falling. Faster. Hotter. Louder. And for the first time since all of this began, I stopped trying to think of another solution. The heat became unbearable after that. Every breath tasted like metal. The walls glowed dim orange now, radiating waves of heat through the tiny compartment. The module was dying around us. No. Burning around us. I sat against the curved wall, holding the oxygen mask loosely over my face while sweat and blood floated around me in tiny drifting spheres. Across from me, the alien remained perfectly still. Watching. Waiting. Outside the window, Earth filled everything. No stars anymore. No endless black sky. Just fire. Clouds. Atmosphere. Gravity dragging us home. Or dragging us into a grave. The crack in the ceiling spread another inch with a loud metallic snap. A stream of sparks burst downward. The alien finally broke the silence. You fought very hard. I laughed weakly. Didn't help much. No, she admitted. But it was impressive. That surprised me more than anything else she'd said. I turned toward her slowly. You really think humans are weak? She considered that carefully. Yes. Fair enough. Then she continued. But weakness does not always mean failure. Another violent tremor rolled through the module. A cabinet tore loose from the wall and smashed into the opposite side of the compartment. The hull screamed loudly. Somewhere behind us, metal began ripping apart. The sound was horrible. Long. Deep. Like the station itself was crying. I closed my eyes. This was it. No rescue. No miracle. No last-second solution. Just physics. The alien crawled closer until she floated beside the window. You asked earlier why my species attacked your station. I nodded weakly. She looked down at Earth below. Because your species frightens us. That pulled my attention away from the burning ceiling immediately. What? You should not exist, she said quietly. I frowned. That's rude. You are fragile. Short-lived. Weak to radiation. Weak to pressure. Weak to heat. Weak to cold. She looked directly at me. And still you continue climbing upward. The module shook violently again. A piece of the ceiling finally tore away completely. White-hot air screamed through the opening. The alien held herself steady against the wall. I barely managed to grab a support rail before being thrown sideways. "You humans should have stayed on your world," she continued. "But instead, you reached space." The flames outside the window brightened to blinding white. The whole temperature alarms became one endless scream. "And now," she whispered, "you will eventually reach everything." For the first time since meeting her, I realized she wasn't angry at humanity. She was afraid of it. A strange smile crossed my face. "Good." The alien stared at me for a long moment. Then, suddenly, the entire module spun violently. Something massive struck us from below. The world flipped end over end. I slammed hard into the wall. Pain exploded through my ribs. The emergency lights died instantly. Darkness swallowed the compartment. For several terrifying seconds, there was only chaos. Metal tearing apart. Objects smashing around us. The roar of atmosphere outside. Then, silence. Not complete silence, but softer. Wrong somehow. I opened my eyes slowly. The spinning had stopped. Moonlight poured through the cracked window. The module had split nearly in half. Cold air rushed through the cabin. I looked around desperately. The alien was gone. The entire section of wall where she had been holding on had torn completely away. Open sky stretched beyond it. I stared into the darkness outside. Nothing. No sign of her. No movement. Just atmosphere roaring below us. Then I heard her voice one last time. Not through speakers. Not through radio. Directly behind me. "You see now, human." I turned sharply. She clung to the remaining outer frame of the shattered module, exposed directly to the atmosphere itself. No suit. No protection. The wind screamed around her body while the burning remains of the module fell apart beneath us. And somehow, she smiled. "You were never weak." Then her grip slipped. For a split second, she simply floated there against the burning sky, a dark silhouette falling through fire. Then she disappeared into the clouds below. Gone. I stared after her. My vision blurred. The remaining half of the module groaned loudly beneath me. The floor tilted downward. The last support beams were failing. I looked through the broken window one final time. At the stars above. At Earth below. At the thin blue atmosphere between them. All my life, I had wanted to reach space. To touch something beyond the world I was born on. And somehow, even here at the end, I still did not regret it. The module began breaking apart around me. Light flooded the cabin. The roar became deafening. I closed my eyes. And for one brief moment before everything vanished, I imagined standing on Mars beneath an alien sky. Then the world turned white.